So in this part, what we're going to do is we are going to start talking about the tracks in more detail in Pro Tools. We're going to go through this. And I was thinking about this during the break, and I think what we're going to do is talk about the stuff in Pro Tools today, and then we're going to continue the MIDI conversation tomorrow on our iPads and learning about how to do MIDI on the iPad using GarageBand. So tomorrow for class, I'm going to want you to download GarageBand onto your iPad and make sure you've got that because it's actually really cool. The GarageBand's great for doing MIDI stuff. So, all right, so we got here two types of tracks here I've got here. And this is the old way that Pro Tools used to do instruments. You used to have to make a MIDI track and an aux track. And let me just show you how this would work. I'm going to go ahead and delete these tracks here. Here. I'm going to make an aux track, stereo aux. On this aux track, I'm going to put my drums like this. There we go. Okay. And I've got an aux track. It's got my MIDI instrument on it. It's got my instrument on it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a MIDI track. Here. There we go. Here's my MIDI track. Now, if we look at this drawing here, what we've got is the MIDI track. You can see it doesn't have any sends or inserts, and that's because MIDI is not audio. There's no audio on a MIDI track, so there's no place to put an insert, and there's no reason to have a send. What it does have is it does have this I/O section down here, same as the audio tracks and the aux tracks and stuff. But the I/O here is different from our audio tracks or aux tracks. The I/O, the input is your MIDI instruments or any kind of controllers you have connected to your machine. And the output is any kind of synthesizers that you have in your session. So the input here is going to be set to all. So anything I have connected to it will send MIDI data to it. And then my output here is I'm going to set this up to go to my aux here. It says battery 1, battery 4, MIDI N1. So I'm going to have it set to that. Now, I'm going to change the name of this aux track here from aux to MIDI drums. There we go. And for my MIDI tracks, what I would do is I usually put, I used to always do this a lot, was put a little M in the front of it. And it's just like a habit I got into for years and years and years. I did that. So anything that was a MIDI track had an M in the front, and anything that was audio was just audio. So now, this is my instrument here, and here's my drums controller. And now what happens is, if I want to play my drums, I have to hit this record button here, and the MIDI data is on this track, and it's playing this track right here. So I've connected up, if we can see here, with this green, I've connected up the output here to the input on this one here. And I've got the different instruments here, but it's the same concept. So this here would go to my bass vacuum track or my MIDI drums track, and there it is right there. So this is my aux track, and what you do is you put your drum or your instrument on the first channel of your aux track, and that plays it through. So everything after this is all audio effects. And the aux track, because it's an audio track, and it plays audio, these can all be inserts, and we can have sends and send it to our reverbs and stuff like that. That's how we can set up our instruments in Pro Tools. Now, this is the old school way to do it. Nowadays, we don't need all these tracks. Nowadays, we just need one instrument track, and that's what this over here is illustrating. This here is illustrating where things are set up on our instrument track. And if we have an instrument track, what happens is this top part here, which if I go back to my Pro Tools session here, and I go to View, Mix Window Views, Instruments, this Instruments section here is this top part up here. And this is essentially the MIDI section of the track. So an aux track, really all it is just an audio, sorry, not an aux track, an instrument track is just an aux and a MIDI track smashed together into one new track, and that's called an instrument track. The top part of that instrument track is the MIDI section, and they call it the instrument section. and the bottom part is still the aux section, and it's just our normal aux section where audio is sent through. So here is, this just shows you, it should just show you, if everything's like set up correctly, it should just show you the input here, which is our instrument, all instruments, and then our output, which is the instrument that's actually on it. So this input here is our controller, whatever, MIDI keyboard, and this output here is going to be this instrument right here. So if I play this synth track here, here it is. Right there, that is, and here's my drums over here. I have to play this MIDI track here. Right? So there we go. So if I want to record this in, let's just record that little beat right there I just made. So do that. We'll do a 4-bar loop. We'll just keep it at this 160 here. Right? So I like that second part more than the first part. I'm just going to delete that, hold down Option, drag this over here, go back and do those like that. Here, let's listen to this. And I can go in here and record this. There we go. All right, so we got that there. I'm not sure why this keeps taking me back to the, oh, I see why. That somehow that got turned on. Okay, cool. So there we go. So how do you assign the instrument to the keys? You don't. You just hit the record button, and the instrument is just automatically assigned to the keys. For the drums, no, you just I mean, that's done in the instrument itself. That's not part of this lesson. So it's not the drums. You only hate Pro Tools because you haven't given it a chance. I guarantee you. Anybody who actually gives Pro Tools a chance for more than, like, let's say 1 week ends up enjoying Pro Tools pretty much. So in the drums, you can assign stuff to different notes, but that's actually how it's done in the drums. That depends on what drum instrument you're using. In this case, I'm using battery, so I can just drag things around here. So, so it's not something that it's not something we're going to go over today because it changes instrument by instrument. So there we go. We got that. Okay, there we go. Cool. All right. Well, if you hate Pro Tools that much, you can leave and also come back when we're talking about Ableton Live in a couple weeks, because we will be talking about Ableton Live in a couple weeks. It is slow compared to Ableton Live, but everything is slow compared to Ableton Live, so that's not really fair to Pro Tools. If you're doing audio editing and you're only doing audio editing, then Pro Tools blows Ableton Live away for audio editing. So, all right. Why is it stop? Okay, cool. Good. And we'll do this. So, so that's how you would do like a basic thing like that. Now, and you can see we're hearing the same stuff, but in this case, this one here is 2 tracks. We got a MIDI track and we got the audio, we got the aux track here. And what we don't really want to do that. That's the old school way to do it. We want to do this new school way. So I'm just going to go ahead and make a new instrument here, track. And I'm just going to take this, watch this. I'm going to take this and just drag it over onto this here. Boop. We do that and we see here that this automatically changed up here. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this MIDI data and I'm going to drag it onto this track as well. And now I can just get rid of these two tracks here. I don't really need these anymore. Let's just modernize that for a second. And drums, there we go, cool. We got that. And here, I'll just take this one and name this one, give it a little M in the beginning as well. There we go. There we go, cool. So we have that basic little loop going on, nothing special, but you get the idea of what you can do with the basics of these things. So that's how the two tracks actually work in Pro Tools. You got the MIDI track and you got the aux track and you got your instrument track, which is the combination of the two. All right. Now again, there's no real reason to make MIDI and aux tracks anymore, but you might have a reason that you want to. It depends on how you like to do your drums. I like to do all my drum tracks using separate instruments. But some people like to do their drums using multiple MIDI channels, multiple MIDI tracks, and then one aux track or one instrument track. So let me just show you what you can do with that, how you can do that. So I've got my drums here. Let's call this one, let's do this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to keep this instrument track here. I'm going to call this one M drums, kick and snare, like that. Now let's make another track that's got the hi-hat attached to it. I'm going to make just a MIDI track here. And we're just going to call this one MIDI closed hat. And let's go ahead, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to send this MIDI track here into my drum track over here. So I'm going to go ahead and just go here. I'm going to send it. So what I do is I go in here to this one here. I'm going to go to MIDI channel 1 like this. Boop. There we go. And let's just set this one for MIDI channel 1. Now if I hit record on this one, I'm playing on this track here, but it's actually playing the sound from this first track over here. So I'm playing my synth on this track here that I just made, this MIDI track, but I've assigned it to go into this drum kit over here. And what I can do is I can just record that in. There we go. Right, so I got that little thing there. Now, what's happening in this case, though, is that these instruments here are playing into this one. So this is not, this hi-hat is on its own MIDI channel, but it's actually playing from my battery drums here. So what happens is, if I turn this one down, watch what happens. Everything gets turned down. Trap Man Tony. Yeah, that's what they call me back on the playground. Trap Man Tony. All right. Hanging out by the oak tree. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yo, Trap Man, what's up? Nothing, dog. Nothing. So, that's how this would work. Now, again, this is not how I would do this. What I would do is I would make a new instrument track, like that, and I would take my battery and I would drag it over to here, and then this here would come down like that, and I wouldn't even bother with this MIDI track. This is, I'm literally just showing y'all what you can do, and I'm not showing you what I would do. All right, so I got that there, and now the cool thing about this is, because I have separate batteries on here, I can go ahead and adjust my levels here. Now, this brings us into something I want to talk about. It sounds like fire. Fire. Let's go ahead and look at, I want to show you something real quick. It's right over, where is it? Thought it was in here. Maybe it's not. Hold on a second. Oh, here. Yeah, this one. So in our event operations window, we can change, we can select and split notes. This is a really cool thing to do. And this is something that actually Pro Tools does way better than Ableton Live. Most of the time, if I'm making beats, I like to make my beats in Ableton Live. And because whoever that was that poked their head in here for a hot second was right. Ableton Live is faster than using Pro Tools for making beats. I'm totally on board with that. But there's a couple things that Pro Tools does way better than Ableton Live. And also Logic does this as well, where it allows me to split my MIDI notes out. So sometimes I might be using a drum kit. Here, let's just go ahead and, I actually kind of like this beat, this rhythm a little bit, so I'm not going to change this. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to mute these two here. And I'm going to disable these. I'm going to right click and go to hide and make inactive. And we're going to make a new instrument track. And we're going to put a drum kit on here. Instrument, battery, there we are. And we'll go to the, let's use a 606. Yep, cool. Yeah, nice. I kind of like this one better. All right, so I got that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to record a whole bunch of sounds into here. I'm going to make sure my MIDI merge is on. Got that there. Make sure my click track is going. That is going. All right, cool. All right. Right. Okay. Let's record that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Cool. Okay, and now we'll add a snare drum. Right. All right, that sounds good. Let's find a hi-hat. Cool. Yeah. All right, we got that there. All right, so we have all these different sounds in here. We got 1, 2, 3, 3 different sounds. I'm going to count the hi-hats, the closed hi-hat, and the open hi-hat as one same sound. So I have this little beat here, and what I want to do is I want to separate these notes onto their own individual channels. So every single instrument, every single sound we're hearing, the two hi-hats being together. So I'm going to separate these out into 3 different channels here. So what I'm going to do is we're going to just take this clip, I'm going to click on this clip here, like this, and go up to my event operations and go to select split notes right here and click on that. And this is dope. Watch this. This is really, really cool. And this is something that Logic does, Ableton Live does not, and I hate it that it doesn't do it. It kind of has something like this, but it doesn't have this exactly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my pitch criteria, and I'm going to select all notes. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down here to my action, and I'm going to set split notes, and I'm going to cut the notes to a new track per pitch. Okay, so all the different notes that are different instruments are going to be on a new track per pitch. If I did some continuous data, some knobs, stuff like that, I would do that as well, include all continuous data, but I didn't do anything, so I'm not going to worry about it. And we're just going to do all notes. You can set it to do only some notes. If you only wanted to grab one note out of here, you could just do some notes. But yeah, there's some really cool stuff in here you can set up. But for now, we're just going to do this, split the notes. We're going to cut the notes to a new track per pitch. And watch what happens. Hit apply, and now what it did was it just put all my notes onto individual tracks. Now, what you'll notice is those tracks don't have any instruments on them, so I'm just going to go ahead and grab my battery and drag it over to each new one, holding down Option, and it makes a new pitch for me. Cool. And all these, I'm just going to open them back up again real quick. Drag them down like that, yeah. All right. Cool. Now, these two here are what I'm going to do here, because these are the hi-hats. I want to keep these together, actually. I didn't really need to split those out, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to, I'm going to kick my thing here first. Let's just kick that for a while. Sorry. All right, sorry, it's like right under my chair. And I'm going to go ahead and copy these. I'm going to paste it into here, notes, paste, boop. Oh wait, no, let's not do it like that, hold on. Let's do paste special, merge, which is option M. And what that does is going to merge these onto the same tracks here. I'm going to delete this one. And now we're good. Yes, I know. And now we're good to go. So all right, so now I have these instruments here. Let's make this one my bass drum. This one here is my snare drum. This is my hi-hat here. Put these in an order that makes sense. Cool. And now if I want to add more sounds into these, I can just go over here. Let's add a couple more drum kits in here. Add some more stuff in here. And here, we'll grab the battery over here. And I'm going to change this drum kit to my 808 multiple. And grab that. And copy that over. And then let's copy this one over here. And we'll make this the Afro Shop kit. Whoops. Whatever. I think I still have the same one selected. Is it going to load? I may not like what I just tried to do. No. Yay. I just crashed things. Guess I just crashed my Pro Tools for some reason. It didn't like loading up whatever samples were in that one. That is for show. That's annoying. All right, well, let's do this. Let's go ahead and close out of Pro Tools, force quit. Pro Tools not responding, force quit you. Here we go, let's open it back up again. Pro Tools. All right, what I'm going to do here is instead of going in there to open it from there, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to go ahead and open it from in here. I'm going to go to my sound, go to Pro Tools projects, and let's go and grab it from our session file backups. 1120, yep, cool, let's open that one. There we go. And we lost a little bit of time, but not much. You can see here, we didn't lose a whole lot here. So I'm just going to go ahead and do this again real quick. Remember what we did. We go here to Event Operations, and we go to select Split Notes, All Notes, Split Notes, cut to a new track per pitch. The reason why I'm doing cut here is because it's not going to make a copy of it. It's just going to cut it. Hit apply. We're going to copy this one up here. I'll just make these a little bit bigger. Boop. Boop. Come on. There we go. Okay. Drag that up there. Copy. Paste, merge. Come on, keyboard. Okay, fine. Copy. Merge, there we go. Do that, get rid of these two here. We don't need these. And then just drag this down. So we got that, we're back to where we were. All right, cool, and now I'm just gonna make these here. Yep, cool, that looks good. Awesome. Make a few more tracks. And let's see if we can do this without killing everything. Ooh, should I try to do the Afro kit again? And see if we kill the computer again? No, let's use AME kit. Okay. I'm not even sure what these sound like. I don't really use them. That's kind of cool. Yeah. Cool. So I got that there. Cool. All right, so now what I can do with these, just go ahead and give this a save real quick. Save as. All right, so I got this here, and what was this one? This one is a hand clap, and this one is a ride cymbal, and this one is a perk one. There we go, cool. So we got these here. This one, okay, we got that, and this is my bass drum, and this is my hand clap here. So bass drum, snare drum, not hand clap, and then hi-hat. Cool, all right, so we got this here. And let's put the hand clap over here next to the snare drum. Good so far. Now what I can do is I can do a quick mix on these. All right, and then what I would do is let's group these together. We talked about subgrouping stuff the other day. So we're gonna do this here, and we're gonna keep talking about subgrouping stuff. We're gonna call this my drum group, like that. And we're gonna send all these drums in here into the drum group track that we just did. Now, these are all aux tracks, right? So they're all going to my external headphones right now, to my main output. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna send them all to my drum group here. Let's send them all to my track, drum group right there, boop. Here's this. And let me just get up a master track as well. Oops, not you. Cancel. There we go. Awesome. And what I'm going to do is in here, I think I installed my air stuff in here. Yeah, I did install the air stuff, but this doesn't have stuff I want. That's all just like weird sound effects and stuff. So let's go ahead and grab the, I'm going to use the UAD, Universal Audio, and we're going to grab the, oh goodness, it's all the way down here at the bottom, isn't it? The Rev E 1176, just because I like it. I like it. that's like, you can hear that's like compressing the crap out of it, right? Now these here, this open hi-hat, you can see this open hi-hat's a lot louder than my closed hi-hat. So what I'm going to do, yeah, you can submit. Yeah, it should be open. You can still submit it. You can still, I think you should be good on that. I can check, but I'm pretty sure you should still be good on submitting that stuff. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here to my this one in here. I'm just going to change the level in here. I'm going to turn it down right here. Wait, not you. There we go. Hold on, I'm going to turn this off. There we go. There we go, cool. So I got that there, and let's go ahead and make this kick drum a little bit harder. Let's put a little compression on this guy. Dynamics, I'll use the compressor that comes with Pro Tools for this one. It's not my favorite, but whatever. Use this one here. It's closed, it said. All right, well, I can open it back up for you. I didn't mean to close it. I thought I kept it open for an extra week, but yeah, I'll close it. I'll open it. Let's do this. Let's get this one here. There we go. Cool. Turn that down. Yeah, that'll just. All right. Awesome. And what I'm going to do now is I want this percussion thing. No, you don't need to see my face. We're looking at my keyboards. I mean, do you want to see my face? Hi. All right, so we'll do this and pull this over here. Whoops, we're wrong. I'm gonna make an aux here. We're gonna call this one the perk reverb. Perk, there we are. So this is reverb. And go here to the reverb, and let's use the reverb that you can download, the air reverb here. Let's use the non-linear reverb, and this is like a kind of a gated type of thing. And what I'll do is I'll just send it over here to this, send over to our perk reverb. There we are. Boop. There we go. Cool. Use that there. Let's get the hi-hat running in there as well. Sorry, not the hi-hat. I meant the this one here, but let's see what the hi-hat sounds in there as well. Cool. Awesome. Nice. There we go. There's that. Awesome. Okay, so now we're getting somewhere there. You can see I'm kind of doing a little bit of mixing and stuff as I go along here. Let's go into, so that's your That's your select split notes. Select split notes allows me to copy these over into different sounds, and now I can start messing with my mix here. And you can see how much easier it is to get your mix going if you have everything separated out like this. So we can make it start sounding kind of nice and cool just by getting everything separated out and then regrouping it together here. So we got our drum group here, and you see how I did this. I set up all my outputs to go into my drum group here using my buses here, and the reverb percussion. Now, somebody did send me an email, and I forget who it was, saying they were having troubles getting the insert, the sends to work for your reverb. So let me just go over that real quick here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use let's use a different one here for our snare drum. Yep. So I got this reverb here, and what I'll do is I'll just make sure this reverb here is also going into both of these reverbs are also going into my drum group bus. There we go. So, you as well. And let's pull up, I'll use let's use the air spring reverb. No, not the spring reverb, sorry. I'm gonna just use the deverb that comes with Pro Tools here. And the air stuff does come with Pro Tools, it's just a separate download. I'm gonna use a plate for this, and we'll use a medium plate. Let's use a small plate. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna send this snare drum over here to that plate. So what we need to make sure we do here is, depending on how you wanna set it up, what I do is I just send it over to the same. So I make sure I name my track here, reverb snare drum here. And I go to my send, and I say send to the reverb snare drum. And what that does, it's going to create all my aux channels for me, or my buses for me rather. So I hit this, and now what it's going to do is it's going to create a bus that says reverb snare drum. So create this, and it created my bus that says reverb snare drum, and now this one automatically says reverb snare drum on the input. The important part is that the output, or the send in this case, says the same thing as the input over here. And now I'm just going to turn it up. And remember, if you're soloing things out, remember you got to solo safe stuff. That may have been a mistake that you made. Maybe you weren't solo safing. You had everything soloed, but you didn't also solo the reverb. So if you don't solo that reverb, you're not going to hear it, right? So. Right, so there's my snare drum with the reverb on it. That's like a crazy amount of reverb, so turn that down there. There you go, just tailor off that high end. Now, somebody has asked me before, can you put effects on after the reverb or whatever? And the answer is absolutely yes. So I'm going to go in here, I'm going to go to my EQ. I'll put an EQ here after the reverb, so I cut off some of those high frequencies there. All right, so there's what it sounds like. Let me just turn this up so you can hear it. There's what it sounds like. Turn these high frequencies. There we go. Turn that down a little bit. Right? Cool. Sounds good. I'm going to take this and stick it over here as well. Excuse me, I just sneezed. There we go. Cool. There we go. Now this percussion sound, let's pitch that one down a little bit, shall we? Where is it? It's right here. Whatever sound that is, right? So let's go ahead and pitch that down. Let me just go ahead and solo that one out so we can hear it. And like I said before, every instrument is different, so where you're going to do the pitching stuff is going to be different on everything that you use. And this one here, it's this tune knob here. let's go ahead and automate that as well. Remember how we talked about the automation stuff? Let's automate this. So now we got this tuning here that we can automate, and let's adjust that's battery 4, yes. Let's adjust it so it's not so much, we can't do so much with it. We don't need it to be automated all the way, because that's going to be a lot. And what we'll do is this, and I'm not sure how you see this one here, but then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here, and we're going to click auto, and whatever number this is. And let's do it like this. Let's see here, Pro Tools. I'm not sure Pro Tools is okay with this or not. Let's just do this MIDI here as well. Use the controller you'd like to, oh, wait, no, maybe I don't want to cancel. So let's see if this worked. Because it says 0 here. In Pro Tools it said 0, 0, 0, which is probably the same thing. Where's our percussion? I'm really not a fan of the way Pro Tools does automation for third-party things, but it is what it is. So we got this. Let's click on that. Can we get that to? No? Okay. 0, 0, 0, and let's see if we can make this go up and down. Use our pencil tool. That. Oh, super annoying. Hold on. Let's do it like this. No, it won't let me. Okay, fine. There we go, cool. And I'll restrict this, how much it's going over here with this one. I can just take this and move this around. So what I'm doing here is I'm just editing. Cool. I was just editing the sample. Okay, so go over here like this. There we go. I edited the beginning as well. And so when you're actually doing these things, a lot of this has to do with editing your sample, knowing what the sound is that you want in your head, or at least messing around with it a little bit. There we go. Cool, so let's see here. Let's ban. Boom. All right, so cool. So that's what we got here. So yes, that's battery 4. That's how you can use battery 4 a little bit. We're not really going to talk a lot about battery 4 in particular, but I think we'll have some extra time on some of these days. And yeah, that's basically automation, what I just did. It's the stuff we all learned about a little bit ago, talking about automation stuff. And it's what we learned last week, talking about automation. It's just automation. So there's that. Oop, okay. All right, so let's go in here to a couple things. Let's go to step input. So step input allows me to input notes one at a time with a keyboard according to my timing grid. So if you're not too good at playing melodies and stuff like that, or if you're just in a situation where you can't, or whatever you want to do, you can use step input to go ahead and put stuff in one note at a time. And it's a pretty cool way to do it. What you do is you open step input in the event operations menu, and you set your destination track, and you set up your increment, how much you want to step input, and you set your note length and velocity and stuff like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go here. Let's go to the synth here, and I'm going to go ahead and keep this. Let's call this in the bass. And we're going to keep this line that I have here, and this is something I really like about Pro Tools is the playlists. So I'm going to keep this playlist here, and we're going to go ahead and make a new playlist. New, so I can make a new bass line in here, and I'm just going to go ahead and drag this in like this. I'm going to put this into notes mode here, set up my record enable here on the track, and I'm going to go to event operations and go to step input. So step input here is this one here, and I can, if you're really good at this, you can actually use a numeric keypad shortcut, so you can use your numeric keypad for stuff. What I can do is I can go in here, set my velocity to pretty high up here, and now if I wanted to go over here, just put in some notes like this, like, yeah. Here, let's back that up. Whoa, whoa. Okay, let's go back over here, do this, and then. Like that. So now we have that little line there, and then is that a question, Joe? So produced by Gambo. I don't really give feedback from songs. I'm not. I mean, it depends. If you're in my class, then yeah, but it's not something that I normally do. But if you want to talk to me about like some private Zoom lessons or something like that, we can definitely talk. And the notes are in Canvas. Yes, all these notes that I'm talking about right now are in Canvas. They're right up in here, right there. There they are. Okay, so, and you can hear how that works. I mean, like I did not play that stuff in. I'm an okay keyboard player, and I'm actually better with my right hand, but this is my left hand over here. See, my left hand. So I'm not that great with my left hand. I took piano for a long time, but I never enjoyed it. I don't like doing this too much. I prefer to program my stuff in, so I can program this in like this, and it's a pretty cool way to do it. You definitely take some experimentation. So, are the notes only accessible to you, the professor, or students as well? Students, yeah. The notes are in Canvas. Oh, I see. I missed the part of the conversation. Sorry. I missed what you were saying, Damien. Are the notes only accessible to you? Yeah, they're in Canvas. Everything's right there in Canvas. So, yeah. So that's inputting the notes, step inputting. If you want to play them in, This is something that I used to do a lot back when before I used it, or when I wasn't using a computer to record stuff, or even before you could put things in by notes in a computer, is the slow MIDI recording technique. This is actually a really cool way to do stuff. Here, go here, and let me make another one here. I'm going to go to make a new one. And let's go ahead and just slow this down. Now, Laura Zay Charles says, I like keyboard because it's less time spent in velocity work. Yeah, I mean, this one here isn't really, there's no real velocity work doing it with this one, though. And especially, well, it also depends on how good of a keyboard player you are, too. What I do is I'd record everything in with no velocity. And a lot of my friends, actually, that I know that are doing this, too, I know a lot of people who don't record with velocity, and they go back and they put it in by hand later. It just depends on what you'd like to do. It also depends on how good of a keyboard player you are. I'm not a great keyboard player, so I like to go through and perfect the stuff a little bit later and do it, like really get in there and get tweaky with it. But here, let's do this. Let's go ahead and let me slow this down. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna slow it down. I'm gonna turn on make sure my input quantize is turned on, which it should be. Yep, turned on to the 8th note, cool. I'm gonna turn on to the 16th note. Here's this, and let's go ahead and slow this down. Let's slow it down to half tempo. So 160 is 80. So we got this here, and now I'm going to turn my metronome back on and I can go ahead, whoops, and I'm going to record this in. And then you're going to hear what I can do with it later. Right, so we got that there. Let me just get rid of this first note. Or let me change the first note rather. So I got this. Pull this one up to... Let's make this like this. Zoom in on that bad boy. There you are. And put you up to here. Let's just change it to the, well, let's change it up. If you hold down your claw, it'll enable you to click all these here. Boop, 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 boop. There we go. Okay, cool. So now let's listen to it. All right, sounding pretty good. I'm just gonna go ahead and get rid of all these weird notes in here that I messed up. And I'm going to also highlight all these notes, and I'm gonna make them legato. And so this is another thing that's in here, and this stuff is in the notes as well. Go to my event operations, and I'm gonna change my duration. Now, here's the duration one here, and it's in the notes. It's right here in the notes. Change duration. I'm going to make it legato, which is connected. So set all to legato, leave the no gap here, set that up. Overlap, no gap. Okay, and I'm going to hit apply. And now every single note is going to just flow into the note after it. Let's see, is that the right one? Okay, so now we can hear it. This is what it sounds like slow, but let's go ahead and speed this up. So I'm going to put it back to 160, and now let's listen to it. Right? And that sounds way cooler now. It's starting to sound actually kind of cool. Let's get out of here. Nobody wants you. And that's just what I did was I just slowed it down and just sped it up and played it in, and it sounds pretty darn cool. And it sounds like I know what I'm doing with my keyboard. Like I'm actually a pretty good keyboard player. Oh my gosh, right? But as you can see, That is not the case at all. All right, just fake it till you make it, or just fake it forever. Yeah, so that's right here, slow MIDI recording technique, a technique for recording quick MIDI passages that are too fast to play in real time. Set the tempo for half the actual tempo, play the MIDI line, and then set the BPM back to the original tempo. It's a pretty cool little thing there. All right, so let me go ahead and record some stuff in. And I'm going to record this in. I'm going to turn off my input quantize. We're going to mute this here. And we're going to actually rename that one synth, because that's more of a synth. We're getting to more synth lines again. We're going to rename this back to synth. I'm going to double click this to, or no, well, it's not going to work. I'm going to go here, right click and hit rename. And we're going to call that one MIDI synth. Boop, there we go. Cool. So I got that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new track in here. And let's get some kind of a bass line going on. And instrument. And let's use, for the bass sound, well, actually, let's keep digging through these pigments and see what's a cool bass sound in pigments. Because I just got all these new sounds I haven't really played with yet. So we'll move this over here to this one, and we'll call this one bass. How low can you go? All right, I got that. Let me make sure it's record enabled. Turn that down. Sweet. Go in here. Turn on my sub fleet. Let's see if there's anything that says sub harmonic, sub bender. That one might be cool. There you go. Awesome. All right, that sounds good. Let's just go ahead and record that in real quick. Now, what I'm going to do, that's actually probably not the best bass sound for what I want to play for you real quick. Hold on, let's just see. That's interesting. Some of these are interesting. All right. Huh. Virtual clouds. Wood decay. All right, we'll use undead here. I just wanted to use that one because it has a heart attack on it. Because I want to show you this here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my event operations. And I'm going to turn off the input quantize. And what this is going to do is we're going to see how it works quantizing. So let me go in here and I'm just going to go ahead and play this so it's right, cool. All right, so, oh, it's super annoying. There we go. That was the stuck note we talked about earlier. So here's this. Now, what I'm going to do is we're going to open this up and show you. Yeah, there we are. So we can see how these things are horribly not lining up with anything. All right, so in here, yeah, okay, cool. All right, so see how off this is? This one should be right here on this line right here. So this one here should line up right here. Let me zoom in. And these other ones are pretty good. They're not exactly on, you can see, these are, I mean, these over here don't sound so bad, but this one's like really off right here. So what we're going to do here is we're going to just quantize everything. I'm going to highlight everything by hitting Command A, and I'm going to open up my quantize menu. Quantize menu is option 0. And now I'm going to drag this down here. So if I hit my quantize grid and I set that to 1/8 notes, which is what we really want to do, watch what happens. Everything's going to lock in. So let's listen to it real quick. Right? See how that kind of is sloppy. Now I hit apply. Now right? And now it sounds much better. It's like it's more locked into the tempo. If I hit Command Z, we can see how far that was off. Watch. Command Z, so it goes back to its original set, and you can see how these are all off. Let me hit apply one more time. Boop, and it moves things over. Now, the thing is, what you got to keep in mind when you're quantizing is that it's moving it over depending on how off you played it. And that's all set in the notes right here. It snaps the MIDI, or you can use it for audio, and we talked about this with audio a few weeks ago, or last week rather, with Elastic Audio. It snaps your MIDI or audio events to the grid. So events or notes, snap to whichever grid they are closest to, and that's showing here with these diagrams here. There are 3 ways to fix incorrect timing. You can replay it, you can fix it by hand in the MIDI editor, or you can adjust the quantized grid from 6 to quarters or 1/8 notes or whatever. So when you're recording at a fast tempo like 160, like I'm doing right now, well, this is a situation where you definitely want to be recording, quantizing at an 1/8 note, not a 16th note. Because watch what happens if I use 16th notes. Let me just go ahead and set this up over here, move this over. Okay, so up here at the top, we can see it's set to 1/8 notes. 1/8 notes is correct for this case, but let's do 16th notes and watch what happens to things. Oh, actually here, that wasn't so bad actually. So let me just move this over like that a little bit. Okay, so now I'm gonna hit apply, and now watch what happens. It moved it over to the left instead of the right. And that's because when I just adjusted it a little bit, it was closer to the left-hand side than the right-hand side. So it's gonna move it to the wrong rhythm, and now, right? So you can hear how bad that sounds. And if I go over here to and I change it to 1/8 notes, now it's actually correct now, okay? So what this is telling us is that you have to make sure your quantization grid is correct. And if you don't know anything about music theory or whatever, how do you know what your quantization grid is? Well, trial and error. Like my best, there's 2 things that I recommend for you. One is to just learn music theory for rhythms, which is what I highly recommend, because the sooner you do it, the better you'll be. If you are really serious about continuing in this and doing this as a profession, you need to learn at least rhythm music theory. And so I think you should start doing that as soon as possible, because it's something you're going to use for the rest of your life. If you are even if you're like an engineer and mixing and stuff like that, you still need to know what 1/8 notes or 16th notes are, because a lot of like delays and stuff like that talk about 1/8 notes and 16th notes, or when you're working with bands or you're working with musicians. And if you're recording them and you hear them a little bit off, then you can tell them, hey, you're a little bit off with the 16th notes or the 1/8 notes or whatever there. And it's just better for you. But in this case here, while you're learning that stuff, if you don't know it yet, then just do trial and error. Just make it so, like if you try 16th notes and it sounds wrong, it doesn't sound like what you wanted, then change it to 1/8 notes, or vice versa, whatever you want to do there. So I would definitely mess around with that quantized grid there, but in this case, 1/8 notes is correct. Okay. So this here is a little bit of music theory for you. The note timing. Whole notes are the ones that last for the whole bar. Half note is the half a bar. Quarter note is, there's 4 of them per bar. And then you have your subdivisions, eighth notes, triplets, 16th notes. And this is how many fit into each one. So here I've got my timing grid across the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. So in a whole note would be, if my beat right here, ba, like that. And half note would be ba, ba, like that. Quarter note, ba, 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 like that. Eighth notes, da, 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 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, like that. And 16th notes would be 1 eanda. 1 eanda, 2 eanda, 3 eanda, 4 eanda, da, 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 like that. Okay? So that's your different ones. Oh, and the triplets here, 1 eanda, 2 eanda, 3 eanda, 4 eanda, up, 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 like that. Okay? This is the first thing people learn when they're learning to play an instrument. This is what you've got to learn. If you want to play an instrument, if you want to read music, you got to learn this stuff. So, oh yeah, triple lit, triple lit, triple lit, triple lit, or 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and different people count it different ways. I'm not really super critical about the way people count stuff, as long as you know what you're counting, as long as I know what you're counting, it's fine. Because at the end of the day, music theory, any kind of music theory, is just a way to communicate. It's just another language. If you're learning music theory, if you're learning how to talk about music in terms of like eighth notes and half notes and quarter notes and stuff like that, all you're learning is another language, like you learned English when you were a child, or Spanish, or Italian, or German, or whatever it is that you speak natively. And then when you learned English, you had to learn another language. And that's what you're going to be doing now. You're going to be learning another language. It's just the language of music. And that's how you can speak to other musicians. So that's what your notes timing is. That's right there. The way this translates into Pro Tools over here is you've got your bars here, or your beats rather, and you've got 4 beats in a bar, and then the subdivisions are, 16th note subdivisions are 240 clicks, and then 8th notes are 480, like that. These are really random numbers, but that's how it works. Ableton Live actually does things in terms of 16th notes. So a whole note is 16 16th notes. A half note is 8 16th notes, and a quarter note is 4 16th notes. And so if I go over here to my session here, and I got my bass here. And I wanted to go over here to my synth and put in a whole note for whatever reason. I want to put a whole note in. Let's make a new playlist here. So I go in here. And if I want to just make a MIDI line here, there we go. So now I can click in here, double click to put a note, and I can drag it over. And we can see here's my bars up top. So what we've got here, the grid right now is set to 16th notes. I can change this, and it shows you what the notes are right here. So it's going to help you with music theory a little bit. If I change this to my 8th notes, let's change it to the quarter notes actually. So you can see there's 1 beat per number here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the first number is your bar, and the second number is your beats. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, like that. And so if I want a note to be a whole note, or go for the whole measure, I'm just going to drag it over here for the full whole measure. And we can see the note lasts that long. So if I go ahead and let me mute this one and hit play on this one, I'm just going to turn my drums off for a second. Unmute my click track. Let's just make it so the drums, we don't hear the drums. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so there's that. If I can put this up like this, let me go ahead and turn off the filter. Okay. Like that. Now, if I want to change that a little bit, right, I can start to add rhythms in here. Let's go ahead and I'm going to move this down a little bit, and we're going to go ahead and I'm just going to duplicate this in. There we go. Make make that a little bit longer, close this off like that. Now, move this around a little bit. And you can just do this by trial and error, or you can actually know what you're doing. All right, whoops, why that? Let's try that. Right, you can just keep adding stuff in. And as long as you know your rhythms, it'd be pretty good. Let's add some 16th notes in here. 16th notes in this, going this fast, are going to be really, really fast. Go down here. If I know my rhythms, I know this is going to sound like a little bit in my head. Cool. Right? And you can see I can go ahead and just move things around and put them in there. If I know, like maybe I don't know exactly my pitches, I do know what scale I'm in. I'm in the key of C minor, so that it makes it a little bit easier for me to see what I'm doing because I know my theory. But if you don't know your theory, you can just kind of pencil things in and move them around. And it's just really, depending on how good you are at this stuff, it's either going to be easier or harder. The more you do it, the easier it's going to become. I actually started off knowing music theory. I've been playing piano for a very long time. I'm not great at the piano, but I do know my music theory okay. So when I started doing this stuff, I had been playing piano for 12 years already before I started. So I started playing piano when I was about 4 years old. And I started doing this when I was about 15 or 16, let's say. And I had to get used to it because looking at this, what this is called a MIDI scroll here, or keyboard, a key roll, like a piano roll. And this piano roll here is very different from how I'm used to looking at things on a piece of paper, like looking at notes and stuff like that. So I had to learn what I was looking at. And that just took practice, just trial and error, practice, doing it again and again and again and again, hearing something in my head, wanting to put it out here, and just taking time to do it. I mean, I can't even tell you how many hours I've spent in the studio just making beats and making beats and making beats. I mean, it's thousands and thousands of hours, days, weeks, months in the studio doing this stuff. And this is what it takes. You've gotta do that, okay? So there is that right there. All right. Let's take a 10-minute break, and then we're gonna come back and talk about this stuff. I'm doing things out of order a little bit, but I just wanna take a little bit of a break here before we tackle this event operations window, some of the stuff in it. We've talked about some of it already. We're just going to go over it real quick, and then we're going to be done for the day, and you can work on your assignment or whatever you need to do. We're going to come back and talk in Zoom after this. So let's just take a 10-minute break. Be back at 12:25. This is like a class. You're absolutely right. Cool. See y'all in 15 minutes. Cool. Well, welcome to the group.